This is OEDQ, and I am making a video on, well, the servers are down on December 3rd when the Outer Brood is getting ready to launch. They got the servers down still. It's a day off for me, so I thought I would talk to you nice people, give a little background on my MMO history a little bit, and get more of an accurate view of myself without giving away a lot of personal information, which you should never do online. So I'm a bit more of I'm sort of an older Gen Xer, if you go by those sort of generational kind of year parameters that they use, for the various generations, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, stuff like that. So yeah, I wasn't like 10 or 15 when I started playing EverQuest. I was in my early 30s, and so I was a little bit more of an adult, but I was a nerdy adult, and I was sort of an OG nerd from when I was a teenager, back way back when nerd was not cool, or relatively cool. So yeah, I've been thrown into lockers and kind of bullied and beat up a little bit here and there. It was sort of my adolescent years there. I'm gonna have a little sip of coffee here. So when EverQuest came out, I started in December of 1999, and when I started, that was my first real MMO. But before EverQuest, I had played a couple of, really technically, I think they were called multi-user dungeons, MUDs, MUDs, if you will. And before EverQuest, I tried, technically I did try before EverQuest, what was the other one? Just before EverQuest that they used to sell it. Oh, the name escapes me. I'm just doing this off the cuff, by the way. I tried that a little bit, but there was lots of player killing, and it was just savage. I was like, screw this. I'm out of this. I played it for like a few weeks, and I was like, I'm done. I'm out. So I don't even count that one. EverQuest was a real, true first MMO, but the MUDs I played before EverQuest were AOL's or Anarchy, America Online's version of Neverwinter Nights, which was before the Neverwinter Nights you might be more familiar with if you're younger, that BioWare published. That was actually not technically really a remake of it, but it was a reimagining of that same sort of title in that same world of D&D. But that was AOL's Neverwinter Nights was, I think it was more of an adapted version of one of the silver box titles for online. And I played that for a few years after I got out of the Army to satisfy my nerdiness, and it was super cool. I thought that was the thing, man. Then they shut that down in '97, I think. So there was a couple years. That was a couple years before EverQuest came out, and in that time, I subscribed to this network called TEN, Total Entertainment Network, and they had Dark Sun Online, which was a D&D license that was a little more kind of savage. It was in a different one of their sort of universes that I wasn't familiar with as much, and the ones I enjoyed more were connected more with the Salvatore books, with Dritz and Regis the halfling and stuff like that, the setting that's in, not the other one. But Dark Sun setting was less popular, but that was a online, and that was a little different than than Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights, you just kind of, it was 8-bit. You can look up the images, but it was kind of messed up. I'm not prepared, so I'm not going to throw it up there. That's just how, whatever. You can look it up. You all know how to Google. You're fine. couple extra button pushes, like type a couple things, and you're there. Okay, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. But the Dark Sun Online was kind of cool because it was a little more isometric, I think they call it, where you could actually see your character and move around in the world and do your fighting and whatnot and stuff. That again, it was kind of populated with a number of hacker type guys, and they get their kicks off of kind of messing with other people playing the game. Ooh, nobody ever heard about that. Well, that was kind of new, and they thought of themselves probably a pretty smart, and I don't know, whatever they thought. That's how they got their kicks. I kind of endured that because it wasn't super mean and savage like Ultima Online. That's the one. Yeah, I played that just before EverQuest for like a few weeks, and I was like, I'm out, man. This sucks. Player killing and the stealing, everything's just, you couldn't. It was horrible. I hated it. So anyway, because I dabbled in those things, and I also played the original Baldur's Gate game, all of those, and including I purchased Baldur's Gate 3 actually, the current one, which is cool. Feels weird to me. That's another subject. Anyway, but my point is that I've got that's sort of my gaming history as far as RPG type stuff. And I'm saying that because when I first started EverQuest, I had this piece of crap computer, could barely run it, and it took a lot for me to try to even be able to see. The screen was dark, and my very first character in December of '99 was a dwarf warrior, and I logged in, and as soon as I started moving around a little bit, I ended up falling into that little pond thing that's like right outside the Warrior Guild. I fell into it. It started sinking, and I was running out. There was the line for the air. I was like, "How do you swim? Oh no! What's going on? What's happening?" And I ended up dying like 2 or 3 times doing that. Meanwhile, my wife is behind me, looking at me play behind my shoulder, laughing her butt off at me. To this day, she finds me playing EverQuest. She'll pop her head in maybe sometimes. She's like, "So have you learned how to swim yet?" She'll make a joke about it, Can you swim yet? Or have you died? Have you drowned yet? Stuff like that, She doesn't like games like this. She doesn't really play. She plays games on her phone like Gems or Candy Crush, stuff like that. She doesn't do stuff like this. She is a nerd, but she's a different kind of nerd. So anyway, so that's a bit of that. So, but because of my history of playing RPGs, I was used to kind of, making a character. Oh, this is kind of cool. I'm wiggling my mouse a little bit because of the screensavers. I haven't reset it to or pause it or whatever, so I don't want it to go off because it ends the recording. I was just using the trying a character combo out or whatever, and then kind of deleting it if I really didn't enjoy it. And that's what I did when I first started playing EverQuest. It's like, well, Dwarf Warrior, that sucks. He's gone, so I deleted that one. And I tried playing after that a Wood Elf Ranger, and I played that a little bit, but how usual, I fell off the tree, and the computer I was trying to play it on was really just barely chugging along. So then I said, okay, I gotta stop until I get a new computer and can really run this thing. So I kind of I got a Computer Shopper magazine, and I looked at, I tried to delve into and really tried to kind of learn, okay, what constitutes a good computer. Remember, this is like the early 2000s here now, and I was in my early 30s, and I'm trying to kind of learn this stuff a little bit. What's this RAM stuff? What's a CPU, and how does this stuff fit together? I mean, what's going on? What would be a good one? I did some old school research on it. Not technically really library research exactly, but I went to a local store, got like a magazine, a book here and there, just kind of read up a little bit on it, and I felt like, okay, I feel like I'm informed enough to be able to competently try to kind of buy a decent computer that could run this game. So I get one, and I'm running the game fine. Now, not great. Back then, you had to have a. You really have to. This is okay. This is like a sticking point with me. Everybody thinks EverQuest. Everybody boxed all the time right from the get go. No, 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 no. Number one, yeah, there was some crazy people that boxed, but those were probably like upper middle class or just rich kids that parents just threw money at them, and they could have more than one computer that could run this very demanding game, and they had an internet connection that could support that, which back then, if you didn't have a DSL connection, if you just had a dial-up, you were blocking the phones all the time. So they probably had DSL, which back then was not cheap. My point is, these were pretty well-to-do people that spoiled their kids if they were really young teenagers playing this game, and so they had two machines that could do that, and we're talking probably no more than two, even for a spoiled kid, I would guess, right? Plus the idea you had to have two machines and you had to be able to play them like a bunch of like multiple synthesizers in a new wave group band back in the 80s, right? You had to be and it was hard. I'm not saying they weren't skilled, but they must have definitely been spoiled. That's for sure. And it just wasn't common like people think it was. There were people that did it, but it was rare. Okay, at least on the CT server, it was pretty rare. Now, once you got it a few years into it, and maybe those once spoiled kids that were teenagers maybe got into college, and they were able to blow money that they should have been spending on school, on an extra rig or on new graphics cards and whatnot, and they had the T1 connections that were, in the university dorms and stuff. Okay, then okay, fine, they could waste their life away with that. So they did that, but that probably didn't really happen commonly until 03, 04, I'm guessing, probably minimum. And by about 03, I think it was about 03, somewhere 03, maybe 04, I'd quit. I would say 03. So anyway, when I got my rig somewhere in 2000 that could actually run the game decent, I stuck with the Ranger for a while. And I played that Ranger up through the very first Velius expansion. It was like the third expansion. It's the second expansion. So we went Canark and then Velius. And I was trying to, kind of solo with them more. I would group a lot, but once you got up to a certain level, everybody just wanted to raid. And I tried raiding once. It did not go well. The raid lasted like 6 hours. Meanwhile, my wife was like, "Hey, you're still on there? Don't you want to enter? Do you want to join us in the real world for a little bit of the weekend?" And I'm like, yeah, I know this is taking forever. I'm just trying to stick it out, and then trust me, it's gonna be the last time I do this. And it was. So I realize raiding nowadays is way different, and people don't even include other people anymore. They just use their boxes and stuff. But that's probably another subject. But so this Ranger I was trying to solo and Velius in, it was working okay. I had bizarre gear, I used to call it, and I never had really great gear. And it was just like slow trotting, and I was sitting on this bridge that bridged a couple of different zones, right? Because I was killing like mammoths and stuff, I think. And this other person was kind of hanging out with me a little bit. We were just kind of chatting in the game, and I'm like, I think I'm tired. I see these other people, moving along, zipping past me in levels and everything. People I once knew are like 15 levels ahead of me. They don't even want to talk to me anymore. I gotta get something a little more practical for me. I think I'm just gonna delete this ranger. He was like, well, don't play him, but don't delete him. You'll regret it. And I'm like, well, it's just an RPG. Fine. I'm just gonna do it. I'm sick of this. I'm done. I tried to make this ranger thing work. It just didn't work. And so I deleted him. That was the last character I deleted for a very long time. And I do regret it. In sort of a nostalgic kind of way, So, but after I did that, and I think I made a druid, played it for a little while, like, you know what? I'm just kind of over this game. I think I'm just done. So I stop. And I don't play again until 2008. 2008 is when Seeds of Destruction came out, and they introduced the Merc thing. I'm like, okay, well, maybe now I can kind of get along on my own a little bit better and just kind of play the game and then group, when I got time. So I did. It was a little wonky and stuff, and it was kind of okay, but I was like, okay, well, I'm not really sure. So then I stopped playing in 08 until the next year. I think when I first came back in 08, I played for a few months. I think maybe life just got busy, I got kids, and in 08 they were in grade school, and it was just not cool to be too busy with something as encompassing as this, as far as my life flow went, if you will. Your mileage may vary. Your life is your life. But for me, it was just too much. So, I stopped playing for a while. And then the next year, in I think 09, maybe 2010, I came back in. And I'm like, okay, look, if I'm going to make this work, I'm going to make this work. And I'm going to make a mage. So it's a pet class. Everybody's raving about how OP the mages are and stuff. I need OP. And you got the cleric merc. You're sort of your own little group without having a box. Sounds good to me. I'm going to try it out. So I did, and I liked it for a while. And I kind of forget the exact reason why I switched, but somewhere after, I think maybe when Empires of Knark came out, I think I was dying a decent amount with the mage, even though overall it was pretty good. And it was kind of clicky. You had to nuke everything repeatedly over and over again after they nerfed the pet damage. I think that's really what it was. I think they were truly, you didn't have to do hardly anything to kill anything with the mage pets. You could just nuke something once and then just let the pet finish it off, and that was it. For the trash anyway. And then you really OP. They finally, after a lot of tanks complained on the forums and a lot of complaining, they decided to nerf the pet damage to the ground so that you have to actually work. So I didn't want to work. I didn't want to be pressing like a bard and nuking left and right all the time to kill a trash mob. So I decided to switch to the Necro, which is notorious for being as lazy as you can get as far as damage goes. And the dot damage I always did kind of find kind of cool. So I switched to Necro, and I've never looked back. And that was in Empires of Knark. I got him leveled up, and I even put some videos out, some of the first videos out on my channel. It was hold on a second here. Oh yeah, it's cool. Okay, sorry, work. So I just kind of got on the Necro. I made him a frog at first, and I've switched his race. I switched his race from frog to gnome after a while. But initially he was a frog because I didn't like how gothic and kind of evil really Necros are. So I tried to soften it as much as I could to kind of make it even just kind of funny and goofy to make me feel better about playing one. This is kind of how I am. I like to play the good guys. I like to play the bad guys. So if I'm going to play sort of a bad guy, I want to make it sort of an anti-hero-ish, sort of a Wolverine, Batman-ish type of thing, you know. So, anyway, so I banged the frog, and I thought it was just cool. I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. This FD thing is great. You can single pull anything. This is awesome, and you could. And while your pet was a little weaker, it still wasn't that bad. It could tank pretty well as long as you had your healer merc out. And I discovered that. Discovered the order of the dots. That is really the smartest way to use the dots so you don't run out of mana. Actually, initially, you never cared because mana was never an issue. That was the second nerf that hit that really impacted my pet class kind of play. And that was the I'm sorry, mine's drifting. Sorry, I'm in my 50s. It happens. The dot stuff. They revamped it, right? Before the dot revamp on the Necros, even though the damage and people kind of feel sort of, oh, we're not doing that much. You're doing plenty of damage, and plus the mana cost was practically. I mean, I never even paid attention to my mana for a good couple of years when I was playing that Necro, and it was just, I could take on 2, 3, 4 trash mobs at a time, root and rot them, and I wouldn't even need the pet damage, and I was perfectly capable to just kind of move along, right? That kind of ended with the revamp of the dots. You couldn't use like a bunch of different long dots. There's a lot of changes, and plus it sucked your mana a lot more. And then shortly after that, they nerfed what do you call it? The A ability that it gets rid of your life, but it gives you mana. Blood. Oh, jeez. Why am I blanking out on this? You know what I mean, though. They nerfed that so that it was not quite as effective. I think they got rid of one AA completely because you had like 2 that you could use in that fashion. And then on top of that, blood magic is the name of one that just you can use your health as basically mana. And if you have a healer merc up, use that. You're still okay. Usually, it's usually plenty good, fine to use that to kind of end a fight. If you're fighting a rare that's a little stubborn and isn't dying quite quick enough, and you run out of mana, you're not really out of mana. Boom, you got that. Everything about the Necro class was independent, and independent enough that I could progress through the group game up to the top of the group game, and then that was it. And because I don't like raiding, I don't like all the time and investment that goes into it in my mind, I was like, that's it. I'm good. This is the top for me, and I'm running around in this virtual world. It's kind of cool. I'm getting some nice memory flashbacks from the old days. I'm good. This is fun for me. So there was that, I actually made the Beast Lord back in 03 also. Around the same time I tried a Druid. And when I came back in 08, I tried playing the Beast Lord a bit also, and that was rough going. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because Beast Lords back in the old days, they were pretty OP themselves. And anyway, I was looking for OP. Not because, I don't know, I got a life, and I don't want to spend I don't want to play the game like it's a job. I just want to play the game to have fun. Um, and that's possible nowadays. Even nowadays, in current EverQuest, you can play the game as long as you temper your expectations for your goals. You can play it just to have fun. It can be as casual as World of Warcraft or any other MMO that might bill itself as being more casual or more, casual or hardcore, however they do that. Um, I think EverQuest can just be what you want it to be. You just have to use your imagination maybe sometimes a little bit. You have to temper your expectations, put some personal limitations on what you're willing to do to, I don't know, just kind of maybe create a personal challenge or achievement, right? That's another thing I don't like about the current game is the achievements. It's irritating. I don't like anything that forces me to group. Okay, if I want to group, it's because I think the other person's kind of funny, maybe cracking a few jokes, or they're just kind of fun to hang out with. So I hang out with them for a while. We, camp a rare or something or whatever, and just have a fun time. I don't like the achievement thing because they're trying to give you some carrots on a stick a little bit, to kind of little goals to go. But it's not a lot of it you have to do if you want to be a completionist about it. You have to group in. So you either got a box or you got a group with other people. I think it's insane to think that to pay for extra accounts to play a game that you should only have to pay one account for. And yes, I know that there's chrono, and if you pay plat for chrono in game, the other accounts you don't have to pay for them. At the very minimum, once a year, you're going to have to pay to buy the expansions. And now they have those tradable expansions now. Okay, fine, I understand that. It's going to take a lot of chrono. Chrono doesn't fall off trees, man. It's it's a lot. If you're not paying money for the extra accounts, you're paying in your time, because that's a lot of effort. Okay, unless you cheat and you do auto boxing, auto botting type of thing, and you're getting away with that. Look, it's your life. If you want to do that, risk getting banned from a game that you enjoy. That's your thing. I think you're being stupid, but it sounds like a judgment, and it kind of is, but who am I, so who cares? But spend your money how you want. Everybody is playing this game are adults at one level or another, and in one life situation or another, and you do you, I'm doing me. I'm just trying to be a responsible parent and adult at the same time. Hang on to my little inner nerdy child just a little bit. That's all I'm kind of trying to do. And if there are other people out there that are kind of in that same situation, you got a job that you're working that frankly you've slipped into, maybe it wasn't exactly your dream job, and you're doing it because it's a job and you got to live, you're doing that. Maybe you have a wife and family, or maybe you're divorced and you have the kids, or whatever. You got other various life things that are just in your face as an adult that you just have to be responsible and take care of, but you kind of miss this type of thing. You can still do this. You just have to temper expectations a bit. And once in a while, an X-Pack that rolls around, like this Outer Brood, there's one that had the genies in it too. That was once in a while they'll throw an X-Pack in there to kind of break the pattern up a little bit. That is really high end. And like the genie one, I call it the genie expansion, but you had to pass a trial to even open up any other zone besides the one zone everybody went into to start it off with. And it was the X-Pack after Ring of Scale. So whatever the name of that X-Pack was. And I didn't even go into it. I went in there to get the progression spell and to get whatever spells that were on the vendors there. And that was it. That was the only time I spent in that entire expansion, because it was silly. It irritates me to no end when you can't just enter at least, if not all the zones, at least, more than just one of the zones. I mean, come on, man. So, but those X packs are for the hardcore people. They love the rating. They like they have endless time to be able to play like 12 hours a day or whatever, or they play themselves for a few hours, but then they run their AFK bots to keep their bank coffers to the brim so they can afford to buy whatever they want, or get, farm the chrono endlessly without putting any effort into it. And they justify that. Okay, I'm ranting here a little bit. I know this, but I'm going to end it with this. People that think that whatever you do in an MMO doesn't affect other people, you're fooling yourself. You're trying to justify things that you're doing that's against the rules, that frankly, or at least used to be against the rules, that are just greedy and selfish, and you're trying to make yourself feel better, like, some people do. Oh, well, I'm living in the real world, or, I'm a different person at work than I am at home, or, whatever, No, you're not. Okay? You're just justifying doing something is wrong. But you're not. People are kind of letting you get away with it, so you're just doing it. It's your conscience, it's, whatever. But what you're doing does influence, and it does affect other people in the game, whether they, participate with chrono or not, whether they're doing, whatever they're doing in the game. It affects the market. It affects chrono if they want to get chrono, obviously. It affects the ability to get camps when they get the camps that they want for the rares, that has the stuff dropped that they need to drop for their characters. What you do affects others, okay? That's why when I play, I try to be a good guy, man. If somebody else, especially even if they have a box team, they're just running themselves, which is like 99% of the time, and they need the camp I'm at, I'm like, yeah, just play through, man, like golf, right? Go ahead and play through, get what you need, and if they're kind of being a jerk about it and they just want to own the camp, I'm like, okay, fine. Guess what? I'll either move off to something else just to keep the peace, or I'll just log off and, be productive, it's fine. They want to, if that's that important to them to get the little pixels in the game, that's really important to them, then you have at it. You do you. That's fine. It's not really that fine. I'm kind of putting up with it, I guess, but it's not, it's not worth the fight, I guess, is what I'm really kind of saying. So it's kind of a rambly, ranty kind of ending there, but that's kind of what that is. After all that was said, I like playing the game. It's fun. And I hope everybody else enjoys playing it too. However you choose to play it. You got EverQuest, The Outer Brood, and I'm excited. It's really cool looking, and I'll give it a shot. Zelen is a really good Necro player that plays on test, and he's able to do certain things. Now, he has really high, he's got some gear that's out of reach for me, because I play on a normal server, but I generally find his instructions and his videos very informative for when I play my Necro, so you might want to check him out on YouTube. Hammerjack J, I think is the guy's name. Anyway, I don't know, just kind of try to do a little, I think I did some links to their, on some of my videos a while ago, so I don't know. Check him out if you, he's pretty cool. 12 Strings is a good guy that has got a wide variety of videos on his channel. They're good. Check him out. He's pretty informative too. And I think at the very minimum, at least two of those three people, really all three of them, they got fairly healthy outlooks on playing the game. One of them really plays it for try to do a streamer kind of business type of thing. So he's a little deeper into it, and he plays a lot more and stuff like that. But he's trying to convert it into his job, I guess. That's a thing. Good luck to him. I visit his stuff once in a while, and I enjoy it for the most part. So hey, that's cool. Check him out. That's the Hammerjack J dude. I don't know. What a Fizzlewig's Forum is a new one. There was one that I've discovered a bit over the past year or two. He's pretty cool, and he has gone a different route that I think is very practical for a lot of casual people like myself. Is that especially if you just like the old game, and he likes the old stuff, and he is doing more new stuff, I think, because again, he's another person that's trying to do the streaming as like a source of income a bit. He has another job, but he's doing it for income. But you can tell by how he plays and just how he talks and everything. He really prefers the old stuff up to about level 65, 70 or so, up to the Gates of Discord kind of level, I think. And beyond that, he just, he'll play it and he kind of likes it, but he's more familiar and feels more comfortable, I think is a better way to say it, in the lower levels. And you can level lock and do that. You can go all the way up to 65, let's say, level lock on just getting AA experience, and never get beyond that, and just stay there. You can get a lot of good gear that's super OP, and you can basically pretty much go wherever you want within that level range, and with the Merc, and not worry about too much. It's kind of cool. And you can go to old zones and kind of relive old memories of maybe if you raided before, old raids. Just go to different zones. The Rivervale. Nobody ever goes to Rivervale anymore. Go there. Check it out. Check out a high hold pass, high keep, whatever, and go there. However, whatever order of those words are supposed to be said for that zone. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. A lot of people mispronounce it, and I'm one of them. Kithakor Forest. Oh, dude. To this day, once in a while, I'll go back there just to chill. And I'll just like pray for nighttime. And then when it comes, I'll just turn my pet loose and just kind of just just kill everything. I don't care. Let the pet just kind of just slaughter all the the level 50 or 60 undead that spawn suddenly and can't touch me anymore. But when I was back in the day, I was running scared to try to get to the other side of the zone before I got slaughtered. Oh, those were times, man. Have a good one. Out of Brood, Zoe DQ. Rock on. This is an abrupt ending. Have a good day. I'm out.